If you look closely, the plastic is already separated on the inside. What's up YouTube, and welcome back to the channel. Today I have a really exciting install for you guys. Exciting not because of what the part is, but because the part actually came in. So this is the said part. It is the shifter plate cover. We'll open this guy up to check out what it looks like just in a little bit, but let me tell you a brief story why this is so exciting that it actually came in. So I've always wanted to change this part out, not because of any functionality issues, because let's be honest, it literally just sits there, but because it's been sitting there for 25 years in the California sun, and it started to bubble and separate and change colors and do all kinds of weird things. So I made a trip down to the Toyota dealership that I frequent. Shout out to Tussin Toyota for always hooking it up. They told me that there are only 2 of these items floating around in North America. Due to inventory discrepancies, it might come in, it might not. 3 weeks later, I finally received a call. They told me my part had come in, and it's probably the last one available brand new in North America. So if you wanted to order this part through your local dealership, more than likely they'll say it's out of stock. I'll try to look around on the internet and see if there's any new old stock laying around. If I do find something, I'll leave it in the description down below next to the part number. So here it is, the last one in North America, supposedly. Let's open it up and take a look. Ta-da! Wow. It doesn't look that impressive because it's literally just a plastic piece with some cutouts, but it's so clean and shiny. And it's not all bubbling like the old one or discolored or lifting. It's really nice. Install should be pretty easy. It looks like there's tabs on both sides that just come off, but we'll find out. Before we get started, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Now, let's take a look at the old one. As you can see, the color is pretty faded, especially in this area. I guess it's a different piece of plastic where the letters are printed on. And if you look closely, well, that's a scratch. If you look closely, the plastic is already separated on the inside. The whole surface itself is really dull. For comparison, let's put this guy right here. You can see, obviously the brand new one is brand new, but it's completely shiny. You can't see the separation of the printed piece, which is the, this little piece right here where the park, reverse, neutral, and all that stuff goes. This looks like it's just one nice black piece. One thing that I did not order, which I'm kind of thinking that I should have, is this guy right here, this little tab. This one didn't come with it, so I'm guessing it's a separate ordered piece. I don't know, I might get that, I might not, I might just, I don't know, put some clear coat on it. It's not that big of a deal, I guess. But let's take this apart and see how hard it is to install. So in order to get access to the shifter cover plate, we need to first remove the whole trim bezel right here. Basically, you need to take out the switches for the seat heater, we need to take out the shift knob for the low gear, and we need to put this guy in neutral. Now, if you don't know exactly how to do that, I have a video that I go into depth and detail on how to remove specifically this piece, and I'll leave a link right here somewhere and also in the description down below. So I'm just gonna blast through this, guys, really quick, and to get to the cover plate. Now with the center console completely removed and out of the way, here comes the fun part. We now need to remove the shifter itself in order to get this plate out. This plate actually comes out pretty easily. Let me see if I can do it with my fingers, but you kind of just like lift the tabs up slightly and it should pop out just like this. Maybe. There we go. So this guy comes out really easily, but in order to replace this, we need to get it over the shifter. So the shifter does have to come out. Next step you want to do is remove these two screws from the front of the shifter. So this is obviously the radio, and I put it all the way down into second gear so I can have easy access to these two screws. After removing those two screws, I put it back in park, but as you can see, the shifter, well, the shift knob itself is pretty loose. Watch out for this guy, the button. It could fly out, but I'll make sure to put that back in later. Next up, we gotta get rid of this overdrive button. So this is obviously connected to something down here. What we're gonna do is we're gonna pry off this cover with the little pry tools, these guys again, and see if we can disconnect that. So there we go, the switch is out. However, we need to unplug the two wires that connect this switch, and it doesn't look like it connects right here. So let me try to figure out where these two wires lead. For the overdrive wires, there's two little white wires right there. They actually come down to the bottom of the shifter, the back of the shifter right here, and they're sleeved in this black plastic. Now, there's two of these wires. One is for that little light bulb for the shifter lights, I guess, and the other one is for the overdrive. So what you want to do is just take them out of their little spot and see which one is which. So now you want to yank on the wires to see which one is which. So now I'm pulling on this one. You can see the switch is moving a little bit. We know it is this set of wires in here. At this point, now that we've figured out which wires are for the overdrive, there is two things that you can do. One, you can snip the wire here and reconnect them after you switch out the plate and pull out the shifter and all this stuff. Or you can do it the more difficult way and find out where this wire is hooked onto. Now, obviously, cutting wires, you guys already know how to do that, so I'm not going to show you that. I am going to find out where this wire goes. Now, where this wire goes is actually the back of this white plug right here. So I am going to unhook the white plug. So it's not hooked up to this. It is hooked up to the back of the plug, which is right here. And in order to remove the plug from the black plastic, you have to pry on this little tab right here, which I'm going to do to get it to release. Let me see if I can have it on camera as well. Can you guys see that? Right here is the tab that you want to pry on. So let's give it a shot. There we go. And as you can see on the back of the plug, here are the two wires. What I'm gonna have to do, it doesn't look like there's any other easier way. I will have to unpin these from the plug. I don't think the orientation or the white wires, which way it goes matters. However, I'm still going to mark them so that way, just in case they do matter, they will be in the right position. Wish me luck. All right, guys, so this is actually the next day and I finally got these darn pins out. I actually tried many different things. I tried the paper clip, I tried the little, what do you call these things, these little picks, and none of them worked to get the pins out. So what I ended up getting was the depinning keys, I guess, or whatever these things are. These actually worked really easy. As soon as I was able to get the right spot, the pins just fell right out. So definitely worth the investment if you plan to be working on your car yourself in the near future. These are like, I don't know, like 13 bucks, 14 bucks. I'll leave a link in the description down below to where you can get these guys, and they come with a whole bunch of different sizes, so it usually works with what you're trying to do. But in the Land Cruiser's case, what you'll need to do to depin the two white wires for the overdrive, first of all, you need to pry this little cap up. You see it right there. After you unclip this locking cap, so you basically just pry it up with a small flathead, you want to use your tool, jab it in right on top of where the metal pins come out. So you want to stick it in right there and pry upwards slightly. Once you pry upwards, it basically releases that lock and the pin slides out. So what it looks like on the pin side, it looks like this. And basically the little plastic tab that locks it in place basically hooks in right there. So you jab it in, pry it up slightly, and the pin is able to release. So hopefully that helps, but let's move on to the next step. Okay, now next step is to take out the overdrive along with the shift knob. It should be able to release right now. And the wires come all the way out. So that's how you get the shift knob with the overdrive out. Next, of course, finally, we get to the old plate. We can finally remove that with the shift knob out of the way and replace it with the new one. So this looks like the shift lock mechanism. So the spring switch will have to go back against there. But in the meantime, we can install our new cover plate. There we go. It just clips in that easy. And now we got to reinstall the shift knob and the shift release. So as far as the shift knob goes, you've got the overdrive wire, which is very annoying, but there is a specific place, you guys can see that it goes in right there. So that way it doesn't get tangled with everything else. So you just kind of slide it in, and it should come out on the bottom. This would actually be a really good time to switch the shift knob. If I knew I had to do this much stuff, I would have got another one, but maybe next time. So I guess it was kind of difficult to fish both the wires in at the same time. The opening at the bottom of the shifter is not that big. So what I suggest to do is to find a nice small thin wire like this one right here, fish it through first, and then use some electrical tape and tape the two connectors through. So now that I have it fished through the bottom, technically I should be able to pull it all the way through. So you want to do this nice and gently, just so it doesn't fall out. But let's see if this will work. What I ended up doing was using the shift lock button right here and the key in the ignition, pushing the shifter all the way to the low gear position. That way it's more of a straight shot, and we got the two connectors out on this side. So that was a lot easier than having it to do it in park, because the shifter was actually pointing the opposite direction. This way is a little bit easier, but whichever works for you. Next up, we want to put the shift knob back in place, but before you drop it all the way in, make sure you remember this guy, which is the button. And if you look inside here, there is a little circle spot for where the spring is supposed to go. So spring towards the front of the car, slide that in, push it in all the way before you drop the shift knob all the way down, and that way the button doesn't fall out anymore. Next up, we want to reinstall those two screws on the shifter itself. So there should be one on top, one underneath. These guys, again, doesn't have to be like brake rotor tight. Just snug is fine. They're not going to fall out. They're not really holding anything that moves too much. Depends on how much you shift, I guess. There we go. Now that the shift knob and the button are back on, next thing we need to do is put the overdrive button back in. So what you want to do is, again, slowly pull that wire through that we have connected. And it's going to be a little bit more resistance now because everything's tightened in, but you should be able to do it, no problems. Put it back up here a little bit so we can take a better look. And then there we go. Don't pull the wire too hard. You don't need to. And the overdrive button just clicks in like that. I try to do it in the drive position, but it's too straight up for the wire to move smoothly. So I would recommend it in either 2 or low gear position, so it slides in pretty easily. Now, all that's left is reconnecting these wires right here. And we're gonna put these wires back into the little white clip. These pins are ready to go back into this plug. Now, before I remove these guys, I had actually marked one of these wires with a Sharpie. However, it looks like the mark has come off. So let's put it in, you know, just whichever way, and see if it will work. And if it doesn't, then I guess I have to take everything back apart and do it all over again. So wish me luck. Okay, so you hear those 2 clicks. Now the pins are locked into place. So what I want to try before moving forward is just plugging everything in as far as this plug goes, and see if the overdrive works, because remember, I forget which one they go into. I'm pretty sure it doesn't matter either way because it just connects the circuit, but let's try it. With the key in,
Bluetooth mode.
start the car.
Bluetooth mode.
Says overdrive off. If I push the overdrive button,
Bluetooth connected.
there it goes. So either I got lucky or it doesn't matter, but either way, I would recommend marking the wire before removing them from the plug. Before I put everything back together, I thought it'd be a good idea to clean out these tracks right here, both in front and behind the shifter, because right now is probably the easiest that it'll ever get to. So now that we've tested everything works, we want to put this plug back into its place right there. Clip, it goes in. Next, we want to route the wires where they were supposed to be, so it's just underneath this little plastic tab right here, so that way it doesn't move too much or get into the way of the shifter. See? Next up, before I shift this guy back into park, we're gonna have to put the trim back along with the seat heater switches, the second and snow switch, and then we've also got the lever for the low range gearbox. So here we go. Ta-da! All done. Now that the trim is back in place and the switches are all reconnected, the only thing that's left is the little cap for the shift lock, which we have right here. And to be honest, I really should have gotten a new one because this one is just as beat as the shifter plate cover itself, but whatever. Let's put it in just for now. Pops out just like that. 2 little clips on the back. And we're gonna snap it in. Ta-da! For a quick wipe down. Shift it back into park. And we are all done. And that is it, guys. That is it for the shifter cover plate install. It definitely was a little bit more complicated than I expected, mainly because we had to de-pin a couple of wires. Now, looking back, I definitely would recommend the little tools, these guys right here, to de-pin the wires with. They definitely helped out a lot. Like I said, I tried really hard with like a paper clip and the picks, little screwdrivers, none of which would work. But those guys, plop them in and the wires just shot right out the back. Like I usually do, I'm gonna leave a link to all the tools and parts that I used in this video in description down below, so make sure you go ahead and check that out. If you haven't done so already, make sure you go ahead and hit that like button. And for more Land Cruiser and Overland content just like this, don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching.